So we'll dive right in. So what is it that the customers of a community bank really need to be worried about with these failures?
I hope the answer is nothing, right? And I believe the answer is nothing, especially for community banks. When you look at the failure of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank is way wonky to try to understand that one. So let's just kind of focus on Silicon Valley Bank. Really, the risk factors that were unique to Silicon Valley Bank contributed to its failure. And of course, we all know we've heard about the percentage of uninsured deposits, the tremendous number of deposits from the technology space, but then also just overall this kind of misreading of what was going on at the bank that found itself taking off like wildfire on Twitter and really causing this bank failure. With what we've just seen over the last couple of weeks is the first ever social media driven bank run. And that's significant, but it's also educational of, if these risk factors are out there, like uninsured deposits, which could cause people in a moment of panic to rush out and try to pull their deposits in mass out of a single institution. I don't know that any bank could stand up to the type of crisis, fear mongering, just hysteria that Silicon Valley Bank endured when Twitter turned its eyes upon it.
Man, who would have ever guessed Twitter would help take down a bank? Like
Yeah,
that's crazy. Social media is getting pretty powerful these days. So
without a doubt.
so the people that were customers of that bank, what really happened to their money? How long did it take to get back? Did they lose it all? What happened there?
Yeah. So in the case of Silicon Valley Bank, they closed down on Friday, kind of mid morning, and at that point, all funds were inaccessible. Right? They'd seen $40 billion run out of the bank in terms of deposits the day before, and that just expounds crisis upon crisis. Right? It continues to just drive the hysteria and all the people talking about pulling your money out and pull your money out before it's gone effectively. So regulators had to take a look at the situation, and they had to balance a couple things, right? They had to balance not only the unique characteristics of that organization and its depositors, but also the potential effect overall on the United States economy that could result from that bank failure. If you look at Silicon Valley Bank, you just had a tremendous concentration of deposits in that bank from the United States technology sector. So think about this for a minute. The tech sector makes up about 10% of US GDP, right? Our total economic output. And by no means were all tech sector deposits in Silicon Valley Bank, but there were a tremendous amount, right? So think of a company like Roku. Roku had $475 million on deposit at Silicon Valley Bank. Okay. Now they've got 3,500 employees at Roku. You probably have a Roku box or a Roku TV or a Roku streaming stick or something like that. So we all kind of understand and know that brand. Well, would it be the worst thing in the world if, Roku suddenly went away? Probably not, but it would definitely have impact beyond just the employees of Roku, right? You've got retailers nationwide that have Roku TVs and other things sitting on their shelves. You've got employees of the company. You've got servers out there that they're running. You've got just a tremendous other suppliers that help them build those boxes. When you think about just that as a pebble on the pond, right? Of just one depositor. If they were to open up on Monday morning without that 475 million and maybe now just have $250,000 on deposit at Silicon Valley Bank and they didn't have access to the rest, that could have tremendous implications, kind of a domino effect to affect everyone else in the value stream of Roku, right? So these are the kind of situations that regulators had to look at and think about. It's just what's the domino effect from the failure of Silicon Valley Bank? And how could that affect overall the national economy? In reviewing that, what they did is they stepped in to invoke what's called a systemic risk exemption, right? Which allowed them to expand insurance coverage to the depositors in total for Silicon Valley Bank. That means that when the bank opened back up on Monday morning under regulator control and something called Silicon Valley Bridge Bank, that every single depositor had access to every bit of their money.
So that's impressive. So really nobody lost any money at all in this scenario because they were able to use that exemption.
Yeah, exactly. So the only people that lose money in this case are really the shareholders of Silicon Valley Bank, right? They will not be made whole for the failure of this institution.
Interesting. So is there something that a bank can do to help protect assets over 250,000 in this deposit insurance limit?
Yeah. So, and this is one of the things that Silicon Valley Bank really didn't do, or I guess didn't take advantage of some of the tools that could be in their toolkit. There are networks of banks that have come up nationwide. One that we work very closely with is a company called IntraFi, and it allows depositors to work with their bank to effectively spread their deposits out at other banks on a nightly basis and pull those deposits back to make sure that the FDIC coverage is expanded well beyond 250,000. I think they go up to like 50 million in coverage. So it's just a tool that you can utilize. If a depositor is worried about that, go in, ask your bank if they have any tools that would help them expand FDIC insurance coverage. There's other things, of course, you can do. You know, if you have 6 kids and you want to put all 6 kids on your bank accounts, that expands the FDIC insurance coverage for each depositor that's on the account, right? So those types of things can be done, but there are tools in the toolkit for sure.
Wow, that's the best argument I've heard for having multiple kids. You're a real advocate. I love it. That's
Yeah,
a
but the bad part is you have to give them access to your bank accounts, right?
oh man, that could be devastating for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. There's a real risk reward balance here.